the Business Matters program with me, Anwar Moolla. Business Matters brought to you by the Minara Chamber of Commerce. Yes, if it's Monday and it's just gone 7:10, it has to be Business Matters. An exciting guest tonight. Her name is HANIFA Osman. She's a chartered accountant and she's based in Cape Town. We're going to be talking to her about the latest in terms of SARS and this what they call SARS, real-time bank transaction monitoring. I'm not sure with the technician. Do we have HANIFA on the line? Yes. Assalamu alaikum, HANIFA, and welcome to Radio Al Ansar. Okay. I think we're having a bit of an issue getting HANIFA online. Can we maybe go for a play a nasheed or so while we get HANIFA on the line, and as soon as we have her, we'll be back on it.
Did you look at the night, see the light of the moon? Did you look at the sun, giving you warmth? Did you look at the sky? Are you falling in love? It is from the Creator. You can't get enough. He is everywhere, and He knows we stay. Yes, He knows. Yes, He knows. He knows. You've got the world in your hands. He's the one who we're thanking for life. He is a Rahman. Allah. He is a Rahman. See the birds how they fly, feel the tears when you cry. He's the one who gives everything. He'll never leave you behind, 'cause He's the one that always makes things better. And He's the one that always lives forever. He's everywhere. He knows we stay. Yes, He knows. Yes, He knows. You've got the world in your hands. You've got to thank Him for life. He is a Rahman. He is a Rahman. Oh, look from where you're standing. Look around yourself. Feel the love around you. You can't even tell how much He has given. Do you know what you're missing? He is a Rahman. Allah. He is a Rahman. Allah.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. If you've just joined us, it's the Business Matters program on Radio Al Ansar with me, Anwar Moolla. Apologies for that glitch while we were trying to get our guest on the line, but we do have her on the line now. She's joining us from Cape Town, and I would think it's Assalamu alaikum to HANIFA Osman.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for the opportunity and having me on the show.
Thanks for joining us, HANIFA. Am I right in saying you are joining us from Cape Town?
Yes, I am. So it's still pretty light out here in Cape Town.
Yep. Hanifa is a chartered accountant by profession, registered auditor and chartered accountant, risk advisory, and government sector consultant. Hanifa, tonight our topic is about SARS, real time bank monitoring. The word SARS, when many people hear it, they want to run far from it. You're going to unpack for us what this whole issue about real time bank monitoring is. Something that's quite new to a lot of us. But you're the expert in the field and you're going to take us through it. So let me start by asking you, what is this issue of real time bank monitoring? Is it something new that hasn't been there before? And what does it actually mean?
Okay, so the SARS real-time bank transaction is what has been adopted globally, and it's really anxiety inducing. And so I'm just going to run through what it actually means. It's um, it's a system that looks at your bank transaction in real time as it happens, and it allows SARS to track your financial activities as they happen. That means they're going to have instant access to your financial data, and where there's discrepancies or obvious tax evasion, they're going to be able to pick that up immediately.
So, Anifa, what does this really means is that SARS would have access to all our bank accounts all the time in real time, to be able to see exactly what is coming in and what is going out.
Yes, this is actually part of artificial intelligence, and with the whole world, their tax system is gearing towards. There's been lots of postponement of this real-time monitoring, but it seems that SARS is going to be one of the countries implementing it sooner than the other countries. Why SARS is doing it, that it's part of their broader strategy to close the tax compliance gap, and they want to increase their revenue collection. So, we all now familiar with AI. The future is now. And SARS is already advanced and they are implementing it so that they can identify undeclared income and to ensure that the taxpayers report their financial activities.
Surely, SARS cannot have a myriad of people sitting behind computer screens, literally looking at transactions on a day
Yes.
to day, hour to hour basis. So, as you rightly said, this is all AI based or artificial intelligence. Um, will I mean, if you're familiar with the system, and I'm not sure if you are, but how would this really work in practice? Will it flag a transaction that it seems to be a dubious or a fraudulent type of transaction? How will this work in practice?
So it's obviously, it's not going to be. Artificial intelligence is sophisticated, and the way it's programmed, it will only be triggered when certain transactions take place. Like, for example, unreported income, where there's deposits, cash deposit or even in EFTs. And these cash deposits or transfers don't match the declared income, or where there's large cash transactions, where there's significant cash deposits or withdrawals, and where there's some irregular deposits like unusual or unexplained deposits, such as large sums of money transferred to offshore accounts. And also interestingly is they going to be scrutinizing digital wallets. So that means when you make payments, online with Google Pay or Apple Pay. So that they will be able to pick all of these transactions, and in a way they'll be able to account for your lifestyle um, and determining how you're affording that lifestyle.
So the question of declared or undeclared income would only be kind of found out once you submit your financial statements at the end of the tax year, and then also after a few months, because you're only obliged to submit your tax returns a few months after financial year end. So when you say they would be able to find out, the this can be flagged immediately upon a
Yes.
transaction taking place, but your financial documents would only reach SARS, or your financial statements, a few months after financial year end. So would they wait till all of your financials are submitted and then try to marry the two and say there's discrepancies?
No, it will actually be immediate. So they're trying to move away from, the post financial year, and, they already are able to access our bank account. And also, given they have some internal rules where they wouldn't have complete access over our bank account in real time. However, we're moving away from that. We now SARS has immediate real time access. And I think eventually it looks like maybe one day you wouldn't have to even submit returns. It will automatically be fed from your banking system into SaaS system. But it's real time. So it's not at the end of the financial year. It's not when you report, when you compile your financial statement, or when you submit your VAT returns. It's actually in real time. There's a trigger, and that indicates an irregular transaction.
So you've given some examples of what would be deemed to be irregular transactions. One would be large cash deposits, but a large cash deposit for a supermarket, for example, is absolutely normal. Whereas for an individual who's earning a monthly salary and is a salaried employee, a large cash transaction into his or her bank account would be deemed to be irregular. So, how would the system determine what in which case it's a proper transaction and in which case it isn't?
Okay, so they have that artificial intelligence, and they've got the programming. So, for example, if they're aware that your source code or your income source code is in a retail or a supermarket or cash and carry, then in that case it would be regular. Those deposits would be regular, but it would be tailored, very much tailored and specific to the type of industry to indicate whether it's irregular or not.
Okay. Um, is this shift part of a broader strategy to close the tax compliance gap? And why is SARS implementing it now?
Okay, so it's a global issue. South Africa is very much part of the global countries, right? And very much as how COVID spread, and it wasn't isolated to one country. We part of the global village. So it seems as if governments talk to each other. We adopt the same or similar accounting framework, and tax system is very much similar. So this artificial intelligence and real time monitoring is international, right? And SARS has been on this trajectory of smarter ways of um, widening the tax pool and increasing the tax revenue, right? And we can see that this is in line with cloud-based accounting. For example, we use Zero in our practice. So that integrates with SaaS software. And there is this move to cloud-based accounting. So now we're moving towards cloud-based taxation. So the whole reason for that is to increase our taxable income and to increase the revenue that's generated from collection of taxes into the fiscus.
So, for an ordinary citizen like you and I, what kind of transactions could raise red flags under this real time system?
Um, it could be, for example, it could be, for example, a huge deposit from a business account into a personal account, where you would, ship from some business to other accounts, maybe even to an offshore account. And SARS has been very specific with the type of transaction. For example, interest-bearing accounts, right, that don't have a corresponding interest payment. Or, for example, where there's a side hustle, and there's like, for example, Uber drivers, and there's additional income coming into that bank account that's not salary. So that would, for example, trigger off a red flag in the system.
So are SARS more interested in looking at what's leaving your bank account, as in businesses, or what's coming into your bank account, as in individuals?
They are more interested in the amount that's coming into your personal account as an individual, and more so into the business account as well for any deposits or income. So it's both the accounts, what goes into the individual account and what goes into the business account.
How will SMEs and entrepreneurs be affected? Should they expect increased audits or requests for supporting documents?
Yes, it will definitely. SMEs and entrepreneurs will they should expect increased scrutiny and potential orders. So in that case, I would advise that you must keep accurate financial records, and just to avoid penalties.
Okay, this AI system that we're talking about, will this system look at every transaction or only those that fall outside of a taxpayer's declared income profile?
The way the programming and artificial intellect in the system, it will likely only focus on transactions that fall outside the taxpayer's declared income rather than monitoring every single transaction.
Okay. So, what is primarily their concern is anything that's coming into your account. If we look at inflows, that is not being declared at the moment, and they could very easily pick up on that and say, "Hey, where is this money come and why is it? Where is this coming money coming from, and why is it not being declared?"
Yes, and it would usually be according to your own tax profile. If it's abnormal transaction, for example, if you have a retail store, right, and you do banking every week, whatever it is, but if they see a large deposit, or they can see a large expenditure, like cash flowing out of the bank statement, then it's a red flag. So they will have some criteria, that they would know and what they are adopting in their software development to pick up irregular transactions. So it's not only income coming through, it's also expenditure made, and to offshore accounts or for any other expenditure that's not in line with the regular business operation of that individual or entity.
Hanifa, you keep emphasizing on offshore account,
Mhm.
um, but people do make payments to offshore accounts, for example, for purchases, whether it could be on something like Temu and Shein or some other purchase from an offshore, place. So why such an emphasis and scrutiny on offshore payments?
Well, obviously, SARS, having that experience, they must have red flag over the years that people are probably gaining some income, not declaring it, and then perhaps investing it offshore. And obviously, they're going to look for larger amounts, and not your Timu or Shane or all of that. Obviously, it's going to have to meet some internal criteria within the system.
Okay. So this system primarily is going to look at not every transaction, but only those that fall outside of a taxpayer's declared income profile.
Yes, that's correct.
But your income profile is only declared after the tax year. So when you're talking about real time and you're looking at money coming in, perhaps you were going to declare this at the end of the tax year, but they're going to pick up on it literally before you even had the chance to declare your income.
Well, it would be in real time, and it would be based on historic tax returns filed by the taxpayer. So, for example, if an individual in the um, medical field, and then there's large income, it's going to be very industry specific.
Okay. Okay. Does this also fall in line with this whole cashless society that we all are talking about, where there's a big move towards doing away with so called hard currency or hard cash, and everything is either EFT or credit card or something like that.
It could be, we were not behind the scene to understand if it's related to a cashless, but it's definitely part of the concern relating to money laundering. I mean, they could easily pick up on fraud. They could, within or even illegal operations when there's lots of money coming through. And if you look at our country, there's a lot of entrepreneurs. Lots of them are receiving income, and if we had SARS real time monitoring, it would automatically pick up that these are irregular payments that have been made into an account. Obviously, SARS is not going to pick on the fraud element, but they're going to pick up on this. This is undeclared income. So, yes, to some extent, it's related to cashless society, but mainly it's related to the cloud base. Everything is online. Accounting records are online, and so SARS is moving with the technology, where everything is online and in real time.
Okay. By the same token, there is a growing concern about privacy. I mean, we all entitled to privacy, and the Poppy Act also ensures that. How does SARS balance real-time monitoring with the citizens' rights to financial confidentiality?
Well, from what we have, heard, SARS assures that they will balance monitoring with citizen right to financial confidentiality. However, taxpayers should be aware that SARS has access to financial data and they will investigate discrepancies.
So there are businesses, there are individuals for various reasons that have multiple bank accounts.
Right.
So if an individual has got multiple bank accounts, and take an example, one with Al Baraka, one with FNB, one with Standard Bank, does SARS have access to all of these bank accounts?
Yes, and especially where there are some businesses that rely on cash, like cash and carry, and they have large deposits. They obviously going to be under a lot more scrutiny, and all these bank accounts will be scrutinized in real, not scrutinized, but monitored in real time.
Having said that, how does this change impact businesses that deal heavily in cash or large irregular deposits?
Well, the burden of maintaining accurate records and and moving from a manual cash driven system, you have to be a lot more organized and to have records backing all their transaction. So they would probably have to beef up the current accounting system so that they have records that will match these large cash deposits.
Okay, I've got a interesting question that's come in here, and it says, Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair for an informative program. What about money we get from pension from my late husband? And if I transfer this to my son's account as he takes care of me?
Well, you obviously got to record, that this pension money is going to your son's account, and you can also see from the expenditure leaving that same account that is in your name. So what I would suggest is perhaps to have um, simple record keeping of the money spent by your son for your upkeep.
Okay, so one would obviously still be allowed to transfer money from one's account to the children or to the son in this case. Um, I mean, it's not an illegal transaction.
Yes, it's not an illegal transaction. I can hear the concern of taxpayers, and especially if somebody who's concerned that all monies and all transfers between one account to another within the family is going to be under scrutiny. But just just to just to confront your fears. It's not going to be all transactions. It's only going to be transactions that are red flagged. And in this case, you can see that it's a regular amount that's in your son's account every month, and you can see that he's also spending on you. So it shouldn't be a red flag transaction.
Okay. Also, I would think that they would be looking for the larger amounts and scrutinizing those more than the smaller kind of pension fund type of amounts.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. How could this change this the way we as individuals lead our lives, basically? Because now it's like Big Brother is looking over your shoulder, literally, in terms of everything that you're doing.
Well, this is what would concern the ordinary citizen. However, it just improves, and it should cause us to improve our financial records and keeping our supporting documents. And that's why, as a business person, I would advise them to use a cloud-based accounting record system, right? And if they have any fear, to consult with a tax practitioners about any compliance issues.
But what should individuals and business owners start doing now to ensure they remain compliant and avoid unintended penalties?
Well, I've seen in businesses sometimes they treat the business account as a personal account, and it transfers in and out, no supporting document. So I would actually advise that we keep our records, and so that there will be a supporting document for all monies into your account and for all expenditure out of your account.
Okay. Does this new monitoring approach now mean faster fraud detection and improved tax enforcements for the country's benefit?
Well, it definitely improved and increases our tax income that goes into the fiscus, and hopefully it will benefit the country, and it will be spent in improving infrastructure and for the betterment of South Africa as a whole. So yes, it should lead to faster fraud detection, even within, even within the banking system itself. If there's money, for example, that's been taken out of someone's account, and if there's any criminal activities, hopefully this system will lead to a faster fraud detection as well.
Yes, but in terms of the SARS itself, Hanifa, um, would they have to employ a whole lot of new people to kind of look after this specific department, if you want to call it that, because they would be completely understaffed and not be able to cope with this as we speak at the moment.
Well, the very nature of artificial intelligence is all about using less staff and using more efficient technology to red flag, in this case, irregular transactions. And the SARS compliance program, which has been implemented for a few years, and that's more about technology and is using assisted technology to increase the SARS revenue. They've brought in, and they've increased year on year growth. They have brought in approximately 7% year on year growth in tax revenue, right? So hasn't been a sudden movement. It has been, gradually become more technologically driven, um, and we now in this phase, we are now employing artificial intelligence. So it will actually reduce the admin burden and the need for employees of SARS to go through people's bank statements. Instead, it will automatically filter irregular expenses and irregular income in the bank statement.
But surely, if artificial intelligence picks up uh, on what we would deem to be an irregular, um, basically transaction, um, they will need to follow up. And the way of following up with you would be to ask you to substantiate a transaction or transactions and things like that. But there would need to be some human intervention in terms of that process. Somebody to phone you and say, hey, we're picking something up, or somebody to send you an email. Surely all of this can't just be relying on artificial intelligence and system generated.
It is automated because currently you don't get that call like we used to in the past. It's all you get a correspondence from SARS, which is automated on the system, asking you to upload certain documents. So it's not a human that's going to interact with you and request for those supporting documents. It's all going to be driven by the artificial intelligence system, this continuous monitoring or real time monitoring.
Yeah, interesting observation or comment that has come through from a listener saying um, more money to SARS is more money for the people in power to steal, not for the improvement of the country. So yes, unfortunately, some of that is going to take place. If there's increased tax revenues, it's going to some of it is going to end up in the wrong hands, and that's something that unfortunately has become quite endemic in this country. Your comments on that, Hanifa?
Well, I know. I also, have. I will also share my opinion on that. I really do feel that we need to employ artificial intelligence and real-time monitoring in the actual SARS revenue and how it's actually employed in our infrastructure and government and salaries and everything that happens in the supply chain management and tenders. I really do feel we need to employ artificial intelligence in that department as well.
I'm sure there'd be a lot and that's picked up from those scrutiny of those accounts if and when they decide to do it.
Yes.
Okay, we are reaching the end of our program. Some comments from you in terms of your experience on this new, what I would term live monitoring of bank account system that SARS is. Have they implemented already or are going to implement?
Well, it's still in the process and it is not yet implemented, but it will be implemented soon enough. So I haven't had any experiences just yet. I just know that just based on the client that I do have, there's always, I mean, the refund is that's usually the trigger for request for supporting documents and verification. But it looks like in with this real time monitoring, um, it's they're not only looking at refunds, they're going to be looking at income, whether all income have been declared, and looking at your lifestyle. So there's a lot more real-time monitoring of your bank statements and money's coming in or out.
Okay, lastly, Hanifa, what advice would you give to listeners who are worried that normal personal or family transfers may trigger SARS scrutiny?
Well, the whole point behind real-time monitoring is not about looking at personal bank account or family transfers or whatever it is, but what I would advise clients who are concerned is maybe seek that advice and just to ensure that you remember or write down or have something in writing via email or whatever that will justify all those transactions and keep accurate records. And if you really are worried about it, consult a tax professional for guidance. So it can be done in a much more efficient way.
What
When you're
about
doing family transfers, yes.
the references that one would normally use when doing these transfers? Is because generally, I mean, your bank statement would show a reference to your reference and then the reference for the person who's actually receiving the money.
So, for example, the person you mentioned that she transfers her pension money to her son, right? So, she could put in the bank, in that transfer, in that EFT transfer, uh, pension pension receive or some kind of a reference number or
Hmm,
description.
okay. Yeah, Hanifa, interesting this whole news story of live real time SARS monitoring of bank accounts. I suppose time will tell how it all plays out and how successful this is all going to be, or is it going to become an absolute nuisance in our lives, which it could very well be. But certainly, it's an eye opener in that we have to be more careful about what and how we are conducting our banking affairs. And again, also, as you've rightfully said, keep proper records of what is being paid, why is it being paid, so that when it is raised or if it is raised, that one is able to answer as to what came in, why it came in, and more importantly, what went out and why it went out.
That's correct. So I know it's a real schlep. The thought the SARS is going to go into our personal bank statement and find reason to tax us even more. That's what the instant thought. But if you have your records and you can justify your transaction, there would be no reason to worry. I think it's mainly to ensure the people who have not been in the system, and they are maybe doing a side hustle, and they don't have registered business, they're not paying tax or very little tax. It's just bringing that income um, to SARS attention and into the fiscus as tax income.
So, in a nutshell, critically, one should be very, very careful about large, unusual inflows and large, unusual outflows because I know there was and I'm not sure what the threshold is, but in the past, if there was a unusual transaction that took place where a large cash deposit was done, and I think the amount is about 20,000 rands and above, then it could have been flagged. But you are saying it could be anything and any unusual transaction can be flagged.
Yes, so it doesn't have to meet any threshold. It could be a lot, and that's 10,000 rand with a once off, or 20,000 rand with a once off transaction. So this could be an analysis over a certain period. It could be a daily transaction that would be less than 10,000 rand. So it all depends on the the identifier that has been um, included in the real-time monitoring software.
I'm just thinking about the poor, lady out there who's trying to run or make a decent, innocent living by running a home industry or something like that, where most of her clients do EFTs into her account. And she would normally either pay out cash or pay out EFTs. Um, she's trying to eke out a honest living, and now you have all of these issues coming in, which um, tells her that if somebody wants to pay her for some biscuits that she's making at home, she's going to have to turn around and tell them, but you can't pay me cash into my bank account. Besides the fact that I'm incurring bank charges, but I got this scrutiny hanging over me. It will make life quite difficult for people that are just trying to make a nice little honest living.
I think that will actually, like to people who are listening in, they're going to get really anxious if they had to hear that. It's important to note that this is not about cash transactions. This is about large sums of money. And where a person is in a home industry, more often, if they fall below the tax threshold, where they're earning too little to even to be even paying taxes. So it's mainly for people, when you're looking for bigger fish to fry. It's not only cash, it's EFT. And they obviously, this was something that, and it's obvious, I mentioned in the beginning, this is part of a global initiative to have real time monitoring, right? So it's obviously people who have a lot more money out there, who are very skilled at, for example, investing in Bitcoin, or very skilled in getting money into their account without declaring anything to the tax man. So it's more geared towards them and not for the home industry, people who are just or micro enterprises. So I would advise them, people who are in these home industries, not to be extremely concerned or worried. is more for bigger numbers and people who are evading taxes.
Okay, a little bit of comfort there. I got a comment, another comment that's come through. You certainly lots of comments tonight. People are quite, I would think, worried about this system. But it says interesting program. Hope SARS workers who understand the system and how to manipulate it will also be under scrutiny because it's obvious to the human eye that they're fraudulent. Strong statement, but statement nonetheless.
There's the, emotions do run high when it comes to SARS because we do have a huge corruption problem and mismanagement of taxpayers' money. So I do understand the sentiment. And yes, it will be really interesting when this program is implemented and to see what happens next. And I would like to, when the first client comes in and says, we have our bank statement has been monitored, and this was what we have been picked up. And I can tell you, like just looking at my client base, it's going to be the people who don't manage their accounting records, who use their business accounts for personal expenses, and are not good at record keeping. It's just a wake up call. As long as you declaring what you should and you keeping your accounting records in place, then you have no worries. And it's not for the micro enterprise again.
Okay, another comment here is actually a question. It says, Salams, what is the source of this information as there is no SARS statement about this?
Okay, so it's really new. The accounting firms are going out there and trying to engage with and inform the client. It will probably be a lot more publicized, as as we can see on this very radio station, that we are making people aware that this is going to be coming soon. And SARS has good information about this on their website.
So, have SARS consulted with you all as accounting firms, or have they approached you all, or have they told you all more about?
Um, they we getting our tax update from SARS, and they haven't actually informed people in terms of on an individual basis or as a professional body, but it's part of our our tech our professional um, knowledge, and part of being updated with what's going on within the SARS and new rules. So no, they haven't yet publicized it.
Because I'm getting a comment coming through here from this same person saying there is nothing on the SARS website or any credible news sources.
Okay, I'm going to try and get a link, but there is, if you go onto the ESA's website and you Google or you run a search called real time monitoring, you will get and SARS compliance program. There will be a bit of information about this real time monitoring.
Okay, excellent. Hanifa, thanks for joining us tonight. As I said, time will tell what this is all about. Something that's certainly new to me as well. But you've kind of filled us in quite nicely on what to expect. And inshallah, it all works out well. And this is not a witch hunt, so to speak. So, with that, thanks for sharing whatever you know about it. And I think as time goes along, we all will find out a little bit more about this. I'm not even sure whether SARS are obliged to tell us that they are implementing such a thing, or are they just quietly going about doing it?
Okay, so in the UK, they've also a similar process that's going on currently, and there's been repeated postponement of this real-time monitoring. There's a lot, lots of these developed countries. For example, even France is in the process of implementing real-time monitoring. And same with them, there've been multiple postponement, which I think with South Africa following the global trend, and I hope they will postpone it until we have more clarity.
Yes, but it's maybe a chance for those who haven't got their houses in order, so to speak, to start getting those houses in order, so that if and when it is implemented, there's nothing to fear.
Exactly, and it would urge them to voluntarily, disclose and to speak with, whoever the accountants and tax practitioner to assist them in getting to that stage um, where they are in compliance.
Excellent. Thank you, Hanifa, once again for this informative piece of information regarding real-time monitoring of bank accounts. And inshallah, we'll speak again in the future when we all know a little bit more about this and how it actually has come into our lives.
Shukran for having me on the station, and I hope that I have been of some use and did not, increase your anxiety. Yeah, thank you very much.
Well,
Assalamu alaikum.
wa alaikum assalam. Yes, that's Hanifa Osman, CA, speaking to us from Cape Town, bringing us up to speed with real-time bank monitoring from SARS, something that I'm not very familiar with, and I think most of us aren't, but something that's perhaps going to become a reality in all our lives in the future. So let's be prepared for it. With that, it's me signing off. Inshallah, I will be back with you again next week with another Business Matters program. And I hope you're all going to sleep properly tonight and it hasn't created too much anxiety in your lives. But I think it's still a little while off before this whole thing about real life monitoring is going to actually be implemented. So with that, it was Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Commodity and service transactions. It has also to include welfare, justice, empowerment, environmental and other issues too. Every week, Business Matters will delve into aspects of business that impact our lives. We will seek out extraordinary and ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Facilitators, educators, and entrepreneurs will be invited to inspire and enlighten our listeners. Join Anwar Moolla for an interactive show and find out what really matters in business.
24/7, 365.
It's back. Simplex Radio's Black November sale.
Bigger and better.
Get your hands on the Samsung 70-inch LED TV at only 9,999, saving a massive 3,000 Rand. Plus, we'll throw in a free soundbar.
Save 2,000 Rand on the Sinotech 65-inch LED TV at only 5,999.
Sinotech 32